Welcome back to Les Schwab Tire Center's Outdoor GPS, presented by Fisherman's Marine and Outdoor. Now it's time for your weekend tech tip, brought to you by Chevy Silverado.
Now, this is a pretty good one. Lots of folks have been asking questions recently. Of course, this is the time of year for it. Lots of new people getting into chasing shad as well. So this is one of my favorite ways to go after them. We filmed this last year with Ryan, our producer. So pay attention here. There's going to be a lot of info, but it will help you be more successful, maybe a different way than what you've gone after them in the past. All right, here's your Chevy Silverado tech tip of the week, and it's about shad fishing. It's that time of year. It's the middle of June. The Columbia is literally packed with shad right now. We're on the Willamette out of Meldrum Bar, and for whatever reason, the shad fishing is really tough right now. Yes, there's still some being caught. There's all kinds of them that are out here. Problem is the water got a little warm, and now there's grass coming down in the water itself, and that makes it very difficult. So today we're going to go ahead and make it hard on ourselves. Pretty smart. But a couple of quick things just for a quick tech tip. When you're talking about shad, it's all about how visual your baits are, right? And how you actually get it in front of them. So we're going to talk about two different things. One, little spoons like this, you got to keep them nice and shiny and polished, which is what I'm going to do now. And then diver, right? We got the Brad's Magnum diver here, and these are phenomenal. Now, a lot of people don't troll for shad. It's not necessarily a new thing, but when you're running around trying to find where the shad are, trolling for them is super effective. And it's actually a lot of fun to do it as well. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna set up a diver the way I like to do it, and then make sure that our metal baits, our spoons, are as shiny as that they can be. So pay attention, it's not rocket science. At least you don't have to shine up the old school grub, which we will be fishing with today. But when you're talking about spoons like Dick Knight's or the Wee Simon spoon, you gotta keep them shiny, and we're gonna do that now. And I will show you another little tip. We call this the eye, right? We're just taking this little 4mm bead above our loop knot, so that gives that spoon all the room that it can to flop around. So there's a lot more action to it. The shad really key in on it, but you got to keep it shiny. This particular one is brass, and as you know, brass will get doled out really simple. So we just take a little bit of the polish, get it on the spoon. So here we go. So it's a simple deal. And you might think that this might change the scent, and that shad's not a big deal with scent. But one of the things that I'm going to show you today, a true key in catching as many shad as possible, is actually scent. But that scent comes from the shad, the slime on the shad itself. So we'll get there at some point if we can catch a few fish. And we actually have Ryan in the boat today. We're going to have a chance to introduce Ryan to everyone. So here you go. Now that I've got that polish on there, I've kind of rubbed it in a little bit. Just take the towel, polish it up, and now you can see how much shinier that is. And you might think it's not that big of a deal, but for shad, sight is everything. And then of course, if you do it the right way, you can add in a little bit of scent to it like we will today. But there you go, that's the first tech tip. Make sure that your spoons are as bright and as shiny as possible, and that will help you catch more fish. There's a lot of people who do things differently. They'll take and tie their main line right to the front of the diver, and then they'll run their leader off the belly, which works fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. My thing is, I want this to be on the bottom or as close to it as possible, and then I want my bait up above it, not on the bottom. So I'm actually going to tie this up with a dropper. So the real tech tip here is just simple. You're just going to take a small bit. I like to have a little bit heavier line for that, just in case it does get hung up. You can pull it loose without breaking it off too easily. I'm just going to tie her up, nothing too fancy here. I want to make sure that I got about a 6-inch dropper when everything is said and done. And then once you do that, I'm going to cut that off. I'm going to put a snap swivel on, and it's going to look just like this. And that's the way I like to run it. Your main line, 3 beads, 8mm beads in your 6-bead bead chain, and then that 6-inch dropper to that Magnum diver. And that's just going to give you a little bit of room. As that diver's on the bottom, your bait will be a little bit further off the bottom behind it. The fish can see it a little bit better. And when you're trying to cover ground like what we're going to do today, that is an advantage. So keep your baits nice and shiny. Obviously with grubs and jigs, it's not a big deal. Keep all the grass off of your gear. I mean, you're going to have to check it constantly, especially here on the Willamette. Keep the grass off, and then just try to find them. So once we find them today, we're going to be using the bow mount to troll around. Once we find them, I'll spot lock it. We'll stay in one area, and do our best to put up some numbers and catch a bunch of shad. So there you go. Hopefully that helps you out when you get out and chase some of these shad around. That's your Chevy Silverado Tech Tip of the Week. Now, one of the things that in that video that I think I neglected to mention, there's two ways that you can run that diver. It's on a dropper, or you can run it in line, just like what I've got here with this Brad's diver, is instead of having that dropper, you're just tying it right to the end of your main line, or you can clip it there and then tie your leader to the belly of it. It depends on the depth that you're fishing, where you're fishing, where sometimes that dropper is going to help you and sometimes it's going to just get in the way. So you're going to have to kind of play with that, whatever you're most comfortable with. 9 out of 10 times though, I've got that dropper. Although again, if that water gets a little bit deeper, I don't have any issue with just tying it in line and just keeping it right there on the bottom, because that's where the shad actually are. Another tip that I'll give, I mentioned scent there, right? The best scent, unquestionably. There is literally no other scent that's anywhere near as good. It's the slime off that first shad that you catch. The very first shad that you catch, rub your bait on it. I'm telling you, some people think it's crazy. It's true. Just rub your bait on it, get that scent from the shad on there, and then get it back out there in the water. If you're keeping them, of course, my number one rule is don't let them touch the boat, because there's no other stinky fish in the world than a shad. If you're going to keep them, just put them right into a bag right when they come out, pop the hook, whatever it is that you're going to do, cooler, whatever, or just have a really dirty, slimy, stinky boat, right? It's simple there. But make sure, though, every time that you put that bait back out there, if it's a spoon or if it's that grub, rub some of the slime on it. All right, so here's another couple things I want to talk about here on that Kershaw Tech Cam as well. You got your diver, of course, and the Dick Knight spoon or the Baby Simon are the two most popular spoons that you're going to find out there. There's absolutely no question in my mind that if somebody said you get one, you can't do anything else other than one bait, it's going to be rigged just like this with 8-pound fluorocarbon leader, because they are leader shy. Simple. That's it. Okay? If anybody tries to tell you that shad aren't leader shy, they just really don't understand shad, and they just go out and get lucky and they catch their fish. If you want to put numbers up, you're going to use fluorocarbon. Next thing, I'm going to have that 4mm chartreuse bead on there. Absolutely mandatory, especially if you're in a situation where the bite is not that great, but you know the fish are there. Maybe you're not in the perfect spot. Maybe the folks that are around you on the outside or above you are getting them, and you're just not getting as many bites. If you don't have that bead on, try it. No other color, just chartreuse. The reds might help a little bit. We've messed with that over the years. That is the key. They key in on that. And even if the spoon isn't working for you, you can just use a swivel as long as you have that bead on your leader. Last thing is the loop knot. It allows that spoon, especially the Baby Simon, really to wobble around, and those fish want that action. They want to see that thing moving around. Last thing I'll give you before we're done with the Chevy Silverado Tech Tip of the Week, if you're on anchor and you got enough current, because current's important, if you're not getting bit, don't just let your stuff sit there, okay? Put it in the rod holder, okay, maybe you're still gonna get your bites, but if you're moving that and you're bouncing it, if you got one person that's bouncing the whole time and all the rest are just sitting in the rod holders, that person, no matter what the bait is, moving that bait, bouncing it the whole time, and keeping the grass off is going to outfish everyone else. Just that simple. You can go from 10 to 100 by just playing with these little tiny little things that make the difference. And it's a ton of fun. The kids absolutely love it, and big kids, just like me, absolutely love it as well. Okay, hopefully that helps you out. If it does, take some photos. Send them in. We'd love to show you off. All right, when we come back from this break, I've got Nick Saba here in the studio. We're going to talk about the Dirty Derby on the Willamette being put on by high-class tackle. The folks from Fred's, Mad Greek Deli, Edge Rods, Yakima Bait, Steelheader. I mean, come on. This is just a really cool opportunity to get out and have some fun and maybe win something. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Outdoor GPS is brought to you by Yakima Bait, steeped in tradition, innovation, and fishing success. And by Procure Bait Sense, ruthlessly effective.